Hi guys, welcome back to another podcast. I'm WilKhu and I've been in property since 2012. In this series, I'm trying to cover a broad span of topics that will help a number of clients. And this time we've got Lukan in from Currencies Direct. He actually also happens to be a high school friend from back in the day. And basically, Currencies Direct helps bridge the gap for a lot of clients in terms of anything to do with foreign currency. Moving into South Africa or out of South Africa, they kind of help demystify all of those issues that could be involved there. So Chris, I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourself and your company.
Awesome. Thank you for having us, Willem. This is, I think, a great initiative, and I hope that your subscribers will find this informative. So I work for a company called Currencies Direct. We're an international money transfer business. We've been in operation since 1996. Our head office is in London and our South African head office is in Cape Town, and we've been operational here in South Africa since 2004. I'm myself am based in KZN, and I look after the KZN region.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So basically today we're just going to cover sort of your three main topics and queries that you get from customers, and also essentially just covering what your company does and the service that you can offer those clients. So the first one will be South African residents moving money offshore from sale of properties and the process and regulations around that. The second one will be from that sort of leading into the discussion around immigration. And the third main topic will be non-residents looking to buy property in South Africa, as well as non-residents selling property and looking to get funds out of South Africa, and then the regulations and processes around that. So to get us started on the first one, South African residents moving money offshore from sale of properties and the process and regulation around that.
Yeah, sure. So look, obviously for the purpose of your podcast, looking at property, we're just going to look at property as a whole, and sort of what may come about from South African citizens when they sell their property. So obviously, look at this point in time in South Africa, we have a lot of clients that are or citizens that are unfortunately immigrating and moving overseas. So you're going to have instances where a South African citizen is looking to sell their property, and there are various rules and regulations around this. So when someone does sell their property and wants to move overseas and remit their money to their new destination, any South African over 18 with a valid ID book and tax number is allowed to remit 1 million rand. That's what we call the discretionary allowance. Anything over that is sort of your balance is your 10 million. You then need to go to SARS to get a tax clearance for this. So this is called a foreign direct investment tax clearance. What that means is if you've sold your property for 5 million and you're looking to move overseas, you obviously need to go to SARS and get approval for that money. Basically what we do is we would then ask the client to please give us all of the proof of sale documents and generally a lot of stuff from the attorneys. We then go on behalf of the client. It's a service that a complimentary service that we offer. We go to SARS for them, get the approval. Once approval is given, we are then able to remit the client's funds offshore. Look, obviously, everyone knows about the 1 million discretionary and obviously the 10 million foreign direct investment, but if you're fortunate enough to be worth more than that and have more cash than that, then you are able to do so. This, instead of going to SARS, we need to go to the Reserve Bank, and it's called a special dispensation. So for any amount over 11 million, we can then get approval for that. Obviously, it takes a little bit longer, and they sort of dig a bit deeper into your financial affairs. But if you've got nothing to hide, then there's absolutely no problem. We've got clients that do way more than 11 million.
Okay, cool. And then that leading sort of into the immigration question, what sort of things are people needing to be aware of in terms of the financial immigration?
Sure. So, look, I mean, whether South African citizens are planning on either moving or just sending the money out, or just purely for an investment. If they are going to be leaving, then the immigration question sort of comes into play. You have to look at the immigration on a case-by-case basis. It differs per family or per person, and it needs to be looked at solely for that individual or that family. So, look, not everyone has to immigrate. If you don't have an RA in South Africa with money tied up in investments and that kind of stuff, and you're not planning on coming back and you're not leaving anything behind, then there's no real issue to go through the financial immigration process. Generally, you can just sort of pack up and leave. The only time that you really need to look at financial immigration is obviously if your funds are tied up in a retirement or annuity, or you have assets here that you would like to move overseas. It's also important to note that there's a difference between financial immigration and tax immigration. If you are going to financially immigrate, but you want to leave some of your properties here in South Africa, whether they be commercial or a little portfolio of residential properties that you rent, bear in mind you will be taxed on those properties, obviously. So, if you don't have anything left and you're planning on going overseas, there's also the tax immigration issue that the government is still trying to put through, and no one really understands it properly yet. But it would probably be a good idea if you are going overseas and are planning to earn more than a million rand, that you should probably tax immigrate as well, so that SARS won't double tax you later on down the line. So yeah, look, there are various different scenarios when it comes to immigration. You've just got to look at them on an individual basis. Just as another quick example, something that you might come across in the property industry is if someone has passed away and left a property to their son or daughter who now lives overseas. That son or daughter left 10, 15 years ago, and they've thrown away their ID book as an example. Then that client would need to financially immigrate in order to receive the funds from the property, or once it was sold, once the later state is wrapped up, that daughter or son would need to financially immigrate to receive those funds, because they've lost their ID book or have misplaced their tax number.
Yeah. Okay. And just still on that sort of topic, when is it recommended for someone to start that process? While they're here, once they've sold their property, or once they've already moved to the country that they're going to?
Look, to start the process, you need to have residency in the country that you're moving to, so sort of like a certificate of residency. So I wouldn't advise financially immigrating if you haven't found another country to move to, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But once you have got residency in another country, you're with a company like ours. The pleasure of it is that pretty much everything we do and all the admin that we do can be done via email. We don't actually need to see you face to face. We go into SARS, we do all of the legwork for you. So you are then able to go overseas if you want to, and we will make sure that we cover everything on this side. Once the properties are sold, the attorneys will obviously then, what we do is we'll open you a Rand blocked account, the client here in South Africa. So what happens is that once the RAs pay out and the attorneys have sold all your properties and that kind of stuff, they will pay all the money into that Rand blocked account. We will then convert the money and send it to wherever you are in the world. So that is a nice thing about using a company like ours compared to maybe a bank where they want you to go into a branch and sign something, or where we can just do everything online.
Okay, excellent. So we'll go straight into the third point, which is non-residents looking to buy property in South Africa, as well as non-residents selling property and looking to get funds out of South Africa. Just around the rules and regulations and processes around that.
Yeah. So, South Africa is obviously quite an attractive destination for foreign buyers. Our exchange rate obviously is really low. The buying power that you have with pounds and euros and US dollars is huge in a country like ours. Yeah. So, and obviously we live in an awesomely beautiful country, and we have lots and lots of foreigners coming to buy. So there are a couple of things that we need to advise foreigners when they do firstly come purchase in South Africa, it is important to keep the funds, proof of the funds entering South Africa. And I can't stress this enough. We find it so often that 10 years down the line, the guy brought money in through the bank and the bank never advised him on anything, and he's not kept the proof of funds. This then means that it goes from an exchange control application. When he wants to send the money back out for selling the property, it goes from exchange control application to reserve bank application. It takes 4 to 6 weeks as opposed to 10 days. Yep. So the money will be able to leave the country. It just becomes a bit more of a mission. Foreigners are able to mortgage 50% of the property. The rest has to be cash. So a big client of ours is Uber. And what happens is a lot of foreigners will come into the country, buy a property, mortgage 50% of it, and we will then help them bring in the other 50% in cash and pay to the attorneys.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the time foreigners don't buy here because they are looking for a holiday home. They're buying because they're moving here or being sent here to work with a company. So it's important to let foreigners know that when they do move to South Africa to work on a working visa, that they are able to remit 75% of their salary out of South Africa. And then if they do move here, whether it be for leisure or for work, that if they've stayed in the country for more than 5 years, under the South African Reserve Bank regulations, they are deemed as a South African resident and will fall under the South African exchange controls. So, they will be required to get an ID, a tax number, and then the 1 million and 10 million applications will then, they fall under those once they've been living in the country for more than 5 years. Okay. So that's also important to stress to them. You've obviously, once guys buy, they then 10 years down the line decide they want to sell for whatever reason. Like I said before, you're able to remit the full amount of funds you bought in plus the property investment gain from the sale. You just need to obviously prove to the bank that the property was sold at arm's length. The funds were obviously introduced into the country, and we then submit it to exchange control or the reserve bank, depending, and we get approval. Pretty simple and easy. Our company does that for the non-resident. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. It seems very simple and easy if I sit here and explain it to you, but a lot of people don't know these small little nitty-gritties, and they do become a bit of a pain in the side when they're not followed or not adhered to properly. And I think it's a great initiative and the point of this podcast to make people aware of the rules and regulations, just to make their life so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I also have clients that leave the country, and obviously foreign interest, where all people really know or care about is the actual property itself. But then I think a lot of the admin that goes around some of those processes kind of falls to the wayside until it's a bit too late, and people lose time or they lose money just because, they weren't informed. Thanks a lot for your time, Chris. Good seeing you again, and thanks for all the information. And any questions anyone has, please contact me. All my details will be there below, and I've attached Chris's details as well if you have anything specific for him. And any questions can be sent through, and we'll be sure to answer them.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Willem, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Chris.